What's going on, you guys, and welcome to another video. Today is Thursday, June 15th. We are currently on a deload week after 3 weekends in a row of racing. It feels good to be back on the course, whether it was a road, mountain, or obstacle course race. And in today's video, I'm going to go through my current programming, walking you through what an entire week of training looks like, and then breaking down each day so you get an understanding of when I rev things up and when I rev things down, when I do my running, strength training, cross training, all that fun stuff. But before jumping into the programming piece itself, I want to recap the last 3 weeks because as a hybrid athlete, I never want to be quartered into one thing. I want to be able to do all different types of modalities, whether it's functional fitness competitions, mountain races, ultra marathons, or obstacle course races. But to kick things off, the first race that I did was the Boulder 10K. This was a road 10K. It was the first time I ran this race. It actually reminded me of the Shamrock Shuffle back in Chicago. I think it was roughly like 36,000, 40,000 people that ran this race, and it was huge. The finish line is in the football stadium of CU Boulder, which is really cool to be in. Never been in there, and just the energy of having all those people in one place was just amazing and a great way to kick off the season. As for the race, my final time was 41 minutes and 52 seconds, which averaged out to a 6:45 pace per mile. I was really happy with this pace as it was the first race I've done in about 8 months, and that landed me in 15th place in my age group out of 356 runners and 863rd place out of 34,950 competitors. Now, while that number may seem super high, I did the math and it looks like I ended up in the top 2%, which is super exciting. However, I started to look at like the different times between like top 2% and top 1%, and it is light years in difference of performance getting from that 1 extra percent. But I am still very happy with the results. It was the first race that I did in a very long time. I haven't done a road race in a very long time. So 6:45 pace for me, I was super happy with. I was feeling pretty good later on that week, so I decided to sign up for another race over in Leadville, Colorado, which is roughly about 10,000 feet of altitude. This was the Leadville Turquoise 20K. I didn't know the elevation gain going into the race, but I wanted to see how my body would handle the altitude. I've never done a race this high up, but I was comfortable with the distance, so I thought to myself that I could probably average about a 7:45 mile for roughly 12 miles or so. After the race, I looked at my Strava and it showed that it had 950 feet of elevation gain. My final time was 1 hour, 39 minutes, and 49 seconds, which estimated to an 8:06 pace. So I was close to what I was estimating, but I didn't factor in the elevation gain going into the race, so I was pretty happy with that result too. Towards the end of the race, I definitely felt my heart rate skyrocketing. I think I was about 191 beats per minute towards the end of the race, but super cool experience. I think I was 9th place out of 30 in my age group and 20th overall out of 147 runners. Jumping right into the next weekend, which was the Spartan Colorado Spring Super, which is roughly 6.2 miles and about 20 obstacles or so. Given that last year I had chronic ankle sprains and kind of a bad year in 2022 from an OCR standpoint, I was going into this race with zero expectations. I wanted to just have fun. My parents were in town, which was really cool, so they could see what I like to do on the weekends. And I honestly just wanted to finish the race. My final time was 1 hour, 14 minutes, and 21 seconds, which actually landed me in 3rd place in my age group for my first podium ever. And that was out of 42 or 43 runners, and then 9th overall out of 345 competitors. And it really started to get me think a little bit about like how I think about these races, where at first I put these extreme goals in front of me, and I think I put on more pressure than I needed to. And over the last 3 weekends, I just had fun, didn't think too much about it, and the outcome was better than what I was experiencing before. And I feel like this is something that's coming with my maturity as an athlete, where I know I'm putting in the work to compete at a high level, but always to remember to have fun. Now, it just may be on a luck streak, so I don't know if that's true, but I'm definitely going to keep that mindset going into some races coming up here later in the summer. And just super grateful that I get to do these things on the weekend, because I know not a lot of people get to do these things. So the fact that I can race when I want, do as many as I want, I always remember to just be grateful about that. So now that we've looked at the last 3 weekends and the results of the last 3 races, let's talk a little bit about the programming of like what I'm doing on a regular basis to help me be prepared for any type of race, whether it's a road 10K, high altitude trail race at a longer distance, or a shorter distance obstacle course race. To start things off, I break things into 3 different categories. I go conditioning, strength, and cross training. My conditioning is focused specifically on running, and I do that 6 days a week, 3 of them on the road, 3 of them on the mountain. For strength training, I do that 3 3 times a week, and they're always full body sessions. And for cross training, I do that twice a week, and I do that through bouldering. So let's jump into each category so I can give you some details of like what that entails and what the week looks like. We'll start things off with the conditioning, which is the running. So I mentioned that I do 3 days on the road and 3 days on the mountain. The way I like to break up my running and my days throughout the week is I have easy days and I have hard days. Let's start off with the easy days. So the easy days, I do those on the road, and that is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I do about 7 miles each session. Now, one of the things I want to emphasize is that when I do say easy, I really mean easy pace. I'm not getting high heart rate. I'm not trying to put any strain on the body. This is simply a way to continue to build my base while also building durability across my soft tissue. And we'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end of the video. So now that we got 3 easy days, let's talk about the 3 hard days, which we do on the mountain. And those I do on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. The distances can range anywhere between 8 to 15 miles, just depending on the day. For category number 2, let's talk about strength. So these are the 3 full body weightlifting sessions that I do throughout the week. I consider these hard sessions, so I align these with my hard running days, which are done on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So in the morning, I do my conditioning mountain run, go to work, and then in the PM evening time is when I do my strength training sessions. These sessions typically last anywhere between 60 to 90 minutes. And then for category number 3, which is the cross training, which I do bouldering. And I align this on my Mondays and Wednesdays. I put my bouldering with my road running because I do consider this an easy day, and this is more of like a play, having fun type of activity. These sessions can last anywhere between 60 to 90 minutes. I don't have a dedicated time of saying I have to spend X amount of time bouldering on a daily basis or weekly basis, but I love this as a cross training activity, especially as an OCR athlete, because it helps with 2 main things. Number 1, your grip strength. I feel like grip strength is one of those things that people don't give as much love as they should to it, however you say that. And the second one, which is proprioception, so like your awareness of your body in space. This is so big in obstacle course racing, and I can attest to this, where last year I avoided bouldering, I stopped rock climbing, and I had a ton of injuries last year. Now going into this year, I went back to bouldering about 4 months ago, and in the Colorado Spring race, all of the obstacles were super easy. I didn't even think anything through because after bouldering, the obstacles seemed like a walk in the park. And on top of that, having that proprioception and just knowing where your body is, whether you're bombing down a hill or coming off of an obstacle, just having that awareness of knowing where you're at, I think goes a really long way in those tiny moments in an OCR race. So if you haven't tried it, I highly recommend incorporating some kind of bouldering into your programming and just having fun with it. So just to recap the week, we'll start off with Monday, which is an easy day. We'll have a 7-mile road run in the morning, and we'll have a bouldering session in the evening. On Tuesday, we'll have a hard mountain run. We'll say let's 10 miles there, and in the evening, we'll have a strength training session. Jumping into Wednesday, again, going back to an easy day, 7 miles on the road, followed by a PM session of bouldering. And then in Thursday, we'll drop the distance a little bit to about 8 miles or so on the mountain. Still a hard run, but shorter distance, because we know we're gonna do something longer on Saturday, and we'll have that PM strength training session in the evening. Friday, same thing as Monday and Wednesday, 7 miles easy on the road, and we'll take Friday afternoon as rest because Saturday is our biggest day, typically do our long run, and in this example here, we'll have a 15-mile mountain run in the morning, followed by a PM strength training session. So in this example that I'm showing you here, we're looking at 54 miles of volume from a conditioning standpoint. Strength training accounts for 3 to 4.5 hours of training, and our cross training, bouldering, is about 2 to 3 hours. From a time perspective, this is a lot. And one of the things that I wanted to make sure that I emphasized in this video is that this is what works for me. This is something that I truly enjoy doing. It is part of my identity. I love staying active. I'm one of those people that love to keep the body moving. And it's taken years to get to this point. If this was something that you were looking to incorporate or get close to, I would kind of look at what I'm doing versus what you're doing and try to bring it closer to what you're doing and slowly increase while also giving yourself those recovery weeks. So let's talk about conditioning for a second. Let's say, for example, you're running 10 miles on a weekly basis. Totally okay. You can use the 10% rule to help you grow. So like if you're running 10 miles one week, you would bump up to 11 and continue to add 10% week over week. And while making sure that you add a deload week every 6 to 8 weeks, ensure that you're giving your body some time to rest. A deload week for me is something like 50% of my regular running volume. So like if we're running 54 miles on a weekly basis, we want to be running about 26, 27 miles on that deload week just to come down. And then we can work our way back up quicker and ultimately be adding more running volume throughout the year. When it comes to the strength training, I really try to focus on frequency first, where if like you're only doing strength training once a week, maybe do 1 to 2 for the first 4 weeks, and then in week 5 you could bump up to 3, right? You can hold that for 6 to 8 weeks, take a deload a week, maybe drop to once a week, and then give yourself that time to recover to go back up to 3 times a week. And this is something that took me a really long time to learn. I believe I was about 27 or 28 when I had my first real injury, which was tearing a bicep tendon. I was going too hard too often and working out way too much at first. And the one thing I want to emphasize is it's not so much like your heart or your muscles that need the time, but more so the soft tissue, which I talked about earlier. So these are your tendons and your ligaments that need time to recover and build as you change up your fitness programming. And so that's why I always talk about giving some time to grow, doing it in a very conservative way. Give yourself some time to recover and then get right back up to it. Those bad boys need a little bit more time than our muscles to recover. So that's why I always like to incorporate a deload week every 6 to 8 weeks. And when it comes to the cross training, I always just tell folks, find something that you have fun doing. This could be anything. It could be bowling, could be archery, could be pickleball, which seems to be the hot thing that everyone's doing, and definitely interested on my end to try it out. But for right now, that is bouldering for me. It's something I have fun doing. I consider it play. I don't track my metrics while doing it. I don't have a dedicated time of I need to get X amount of time under my belt for bouldering. I don't say I have to hit any kind of routes by a certain time. And I don't even have my phone when I do it, because it really is a time for me to just have some fun, stay active, and hang out with friends. So that's it. That is my 2023 hybrid athlete training program that I do today that allows me to do any of these types of races that I want to do. As I mentioned before, this week is a deload week, and I'm actually getting ready to do 2 more races in the near future. Next weekend, I think it's June 24th, I'm going to be doing the Slacker Half Marathon, I think it's called. It's over in Georgetown, Colorado. It's supposed to be mainly downhill, so first time doing a race like that. So I'm interested to see what my metrics would be. I'm going to say it right here on camera. I think I'm going to be around 7-minute miles for an average pace for the race. So in a future video, we'll recap that. And then 2 weeks after that, I'm 95% sure I will be doing the Spartan race in Utah, Beast Distance, which is another half marathon, roughly 3,000 to 4,000 feet of elevation gain, 30 some obstacles, and it is typically a very hot day in Utah. So lots to look forward to. I'm enjoying this downtime right now, letting my body recover. If you have questions around my programming, or if you need suggestions around what you're doing from a programming standpoint, please be sure to leave them in the comments section below. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As I mentioned before, it helps me out tremendously and more than you know. I appreciate you watching and the support you've given this channel thus far. And very soon, I'm going to be making an announcement on the revamp of the personal training app. As I mentioned in the previous video, a lot of updates that I'm doing to this, and I'm super excited to show you. We are planning to go live in Q4 of 2023, so be sure to keep your ears open for that. And I think that's it. So thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.